And we're live. Welcome to AMD's Twice the Advice on Tuesday nights. We're coming to you live tonight. And we wanted to put some things on the table. I think I'm going to let Honey take the lead a little bit tonight on our topics for tonight.
Okay, so how is everybody doing? I'm AD,
Gang,
and
gang.
we are going to be discussing a really good topic, I feel. And I decided to use it as well, we decided to use it as uh, you were listening. Well, you heard me, but were you listening?
You heard me, but were you listening? So we're going to talk about breaking down the differences and understanding the differences between um, hearing, listening, understanding for the purpose of communication.
Right.
So,
Because communication is so important in a relationship. Oftentimes, you come to realize that you say things, but people don't oftentimes hear you or get the interpretation of the point and value in which what you're saying. So, when you have people that are partners and they are discussing things, speaking from the heart, it's better for you to listen with your ears and not with your emotions. So I'm saying that from my own perspective, to sharpen myself, just to make sure that I understood the error in my ways. A lot of times I would listen to respond instead of listening to hear. And then when I did listen to hear, I was listening with emotion rather than listening for the sake of actual listening. So what we are um, establishing in our relationship now is where the two of us, even in absence, we're on one accord. We can communicate without saying. Um, Body language, different circumstances, expression, respect, of course, but all these things they're meaningless if you don't have effective communication skills and you're not listening. Because sometimes, particularly with women, fellas, they say so much in so few words. They say so much and have the emphasis on what it is that they're saying. You may not interpret the way that she's saying it, but man, listen. If you listen properly, if you turn on your ears,
the inner ear.
yeah, if you turn on your ears and put your pride aside, drop the P in pride and let it ride, and you can get the understanding that she wants you to, and you can truly give your spouse, a helping hand in being more open in communication with you.
I couldn't agree anymore, to be honest. And thank you guys for joining in with us on Facebook Live. For those of you that are joining in on Facebook Live, we're actually going to go ahead and drop the YouTube link. Please join us over on our YouTube channel.
Yes.
We won't be on live for too long. However, just kind of coming back to um, understanding or supporting what it is that he's saying about the difference between listening and the fact that I know for myself several times I have said a mouthful in about maybe two sentences. Like, this is a problem. I don't really like this. Maybe not in those exact words, but in that same exact tone. And he doesn't necessarily understand that. That's not a trigger word to him. Me saying
The okay usually lets me know it's not okay. So that's something for an example. That's a good example. She will oftentimes say okay, and it's like, okay, so talk to me. then I know I have to put my big boy pants on, and I have to literally just say to her, sweetie, tell me what it is when it comes down to your difference in opinion. Tell me what it is that you're saying, that you're truly saying. Tell me how you feel about this. And we have to just kind of um, delegate. You know what I'm saying? To be able to make sure that no one feels like they're being cheated. because oftentimes it's either where you're saying so much, you're saying too much, and you feel like it's going unheard or it's going unnoticed, or the things that you're doing is going unmentioned. And then there's always the ego. There's always the ego, the male ego, the female ego. You know what I mean? So to get what you want in return, it's very important to make sure that you set that standard and that you communicate those terms. It's very important. And if you're able to do that, then you'll see a difference in communication. Fellas, a lot of times, man, we don't hear.
Or you're hearing, but I promise you, you cannot be listening.
No, there's right. There's words that are being. It's kind of like that teacher on the Peanuts, wah 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 wah, and we get like, okay, what's up, shut up.
And
but it's not.
I can tell you, ladies,
going to work that way.
It's super important that you kind of stick the landing on making sure that your point is understood, not just that he heard you,
right,
or even that he responded and said he was listening, but kind of checked back and was like, "Did you hear what I said?" And he's like, "Yeah, I heard you." And it's like, "All right, well then, what did I say?" Kind of tap in and make them accountable. And accountability is a huge part of gaining that understanding of communication in a relationship. Especially, it goes to another level when you're talking about in a marriage, because it's so important that what he says I catch and what I say he catches, because there's nothing more discouraging than when you're saying something to someone who you feel like has your best interest at heart and they're not listening.
Oh man, it's disheartening completely. Another thing, it's not to the same degree, but it's in the same category. If you're dealing with someone and they're your spouse, they're your ride or die, or that's your boo thing, your vibe, and you get conversation or you find out something about that person from someone else, that is completely disheartening. That's like the biggest amount of disrespect that you can show a person, period. So when a person, hey y'all.
And again, I dropped that link in the comments, guys. We're not going to be on Facebook Live for too long, but you can hop over into our YouTube,
yes,
and continue to join us on our live for tonight. We definitely do have the intent of going deep into this conversation. And again, this is not just us talking at you guys. It really is open forum. So any of your comments or any of your, questions that you may want to put out there or anything you want to add, don't be afraid. Drop that in there. State your claim. Say what it is that you like. And we're definitely going to kind of try to create that dialogue. The whole purpose of AD&D is to really be a help. And sometimes talking about what we've gone through may help, but sometimes talking about what you're going through or what you've been through or, what you think you may be going through could be beneficial to kind of help you. And that's really what this is all about. So again, don't hesitate to use that link inside of our Facebook Live, guys. We definitely invite you to join us as we talk about very openly, very nakedly, as I like to say, what's really good. And our topic for tonight is You Hear Me,
but are you listening?
So it's extremely essential in the relationship because it's not a male thing or a female thing. It's usually like one partner or the other, where one is really good at the talking piece and the other one is really good at the listening piece. And together, you guys may communicate to other people effectively, but communicating with each other may not always be a smooth process.
Ooh, that can definitely be something that you may not be able to identify with.
Yeah.
But you definitely feel that.
and the after effects of such.
We have overcome the fussing, the fighting. You go to the couch. I'm gonna sleep in the room. You sleep downstairs, you sleep in the other room. A lot of those things are avoidable if you can communicate, if you can hear what it is that your partner is saying and truly get an understanding of why they're saying what they're saying.
So watch this, you guys. He has on his peanut butter. I got on my jelly shirt. I'll give you a really funny example of this. Our first year or so together, we were going through so much, and it was like we were constantly apologizing one to the other. And I don't remember which one of us said it, but it was like, "Stop saying that."
Yeah,
Like,
I'm tired of hearing.
Say
I'm sorry.
something else.
Yeah, let's not say I'm sorry
Let's
anymore.
not say I'm sorry anymore. And we started saying
Peanut butter.
Peanut butter was our way of saying I didn't mean that, or I'm sorry,
Yeah.
or I wish I
Forgive
could do
me.
it. Yeah, it was hilarious.
People would be like, peanut butter. It would just be just as random because I could do something that was even though it was so small, it might be meaningless to me. I was able to identify the change and shift in the energy. I was able to identify the change in her body language.
Yes.
So it was like, hey, peanut butter, you know what I mean? And she would be like, okay.
Yeah.
And people would be like,
peanut butter.
You're not talking about peanut butter. But I'm like, never mind that. And we could continue to go on because you're able to just kind of like shake that off, and you keep it moving. The focus is to always make sure that your counterpart knows interest at heart, and no matter what.
And that you are being attentive to not just their physical needs, but their emotional needs as well. It's super important for them to know that you recognize that your significant other has emotional needs and emotional triggers, and that you respond to that appropriately when the time comes. That you may notice a shift in your partner, and you take the time to say, I'm sorry, I didn't realize what I had done. We actually had something like that happen recently, and I had not even paid any mind to something I said, and it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. And I think initially I intended it to be some sort of a twisted joke. But it was not funny. It was not funny.
Not at all.
It was not funny at all. It was not funny at all. And I came back to him and had to genuinely apologize. I got a little emotional about it. And I had to genuinely apologize to him about saying something that definitely was taken out of context, sent in the wrong fashion, or said in the wrong way. And I had to take accountability for the way that had affected him. And again, we'll talk about this all the time, but accountability is everything. Accountability is everything. Not just me holding him accountable, but him doing the same and holding me just as accountable for my words, my actions.
But it's just as important to hold yourself accountable. You want to make sure that you're able to always encourage your partner, no matter what it is that the situation may bring about. There's gonna be some rainy days, there's gonna be some weary ones, there's gonna be some sleepless nights, there's gonna be some fussing, hopefully no physical fighting. However, there are times where you just not gonna want to look at that person, and you still have to be able to say, okay, this is me. What part did I play in where we are right now? How responsible am I for the actions that I'm getting out of my significant other? And if you can do that, then you'll see where your partner will be transparent with you, wanting the same, and say, hey, I didn't have to respond that way. I didn't have to, push those buttons. They know what buttons to push.
For sure.
So we know the same. Be accountable.
For sure.
Yeah, be accountable. And if you're able to do that, regardless of what the situation is, regardless of what the conversation is in your personal life, or what it is from whatever standpoint, just make it where it's meaningful. Make it where you can use that to say, okay, I know that we are on the same team, even if we're not on the same page at all times.
One of the biggest things that you want to make sure that you understand coming into a relationship is, no matter what you may face in that relationship, my husband can attest to the fact I will always tell him, I am not your opponent.
Right.
I am not
Right.
I am not on the opposing team. I have not switched teams. I still wear the same jersey. I may not like you right now. We may not be getting along right now, but none of that changes the fact of where I stand and whose team I'm on. And I always wanted to make sure that he understood that. And again, we've gone through a slew of different things, but we just want to make sure that you guys understand that we've learned through trial and error.
A lot of people feel like, oh, you guys are so beautiful together. You guys take such beautiful pictures. We want it to be more than just cute pictures for Facebook. A lot of people that know us knew us for having such a large family.
Yes.
We have 6 children. And throughout us having 6 children, they knew that we were a young couple, and we just kind of like we were crazy about each other. Like the bishop said, y'all ain't only alone, so you might as well do it right. And that's what brought us into marriage. That's when we tied the knot and we became one. And not long after that, even before that, but definitely after we got married, man, the communication was broken. The trust became broken. We dealt with a lot of different circumstances. We looked at each other very early in the marriage and was like,
I don't even like you.
Yeah, did we do the right thing?
I don't even like you.
Yeah, did we do the right thing? Is this something that I want to look forward to for the rest of my life now that we married?
Yeah.
And we said we're gonna get 5 years.
Yeah.
I think that we actually we sat down and we had a conversation. And it was like, listen, the hardest part is within the first 5 years. The first year we mistreated each other.
Gotcha.
We really mistreated each other. We took every shortcut, every corner there was on the wrong side.
In a lot of ways, we spent more time avoiding each other than trying to communicate with each other.
Trying to bring resolution, not necessarily where we were just completely in avoidance of one another.
Yeah.
But there was no resolve. So she was feeling some type of way about something that might have been done weeks prior to. Of course, me being stuck in my ways, I was doing what it was that I felt was okay. And there was never a resolution. We were never able to say, hey, this bothers me.
Yes.
Listen, this is how this makes me feel.
Yes.
I don't like it when you.
And whatever that might have been. Now, for our Facebook Live viewers, we're going to go ahead and drop our Facebook Live and we're going to focus in. We got some questions coming in on the YouTube page. The quick question that we have is, if you have an issue with your spouse's friend and has communicated that to them, yet they still hang out with that said friend every time they're in the same state, what are your thoughts on that, and what they should say or how that should be handled? Do they drop that friend, or how do they proceed? So we're gonna go ahead and jump on that one here. And if you guys like to continue this conversation with us, the link to our channel is in the comments. And we'll catch you guys next week for Twice the Advice, unless by chance we hop on here at some point later on this week. But it's been real, you guys. Have a good one. See y'all on the channel.
And to conclude Facebook, I'm going to pick up with the answer to that question. It is very important for your spouse to always show the same amount of respect for you at all times. If that person is a friend, a said friend, then they have to give the same amount of love, respect, and appreciation reciprocated by you to your spouse. If they do not, then it is best for you to communicate that with that friend and immediately separate yourself. I would say, give it an opportunity. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. I've been the person where I've had my own association, friends that I've known for years, females and males. If there's any disrespect that's directed at my wife, whether it be family, whether it be friend, whether it be friend turned foe, they've got to go.
So I will say that it took us a while to get to that place, and I say us because I had the same kind of a issue or a standpoint. But I'll say this: you have to trust your partner because
Mm.
in a heterosexual relationship where there's a man and there's a woman, I'm saying that because that's the kind of relationship that I'm in. But there's been times where I've been able to identify things in his female friends that he can't see.
At all. I'm like, she not even that type of girl. She would never. And then the next thing you know, I'm like, hey, do you know what she said to me? Do you know what she did? And it was one and the same when it came down to several circumstances and instances with my wife and her male association. We've heard, seen it all, you know. So we've come to a place after going through,
Yes.
we've now established a well understood understanding. You understand what I'm saying? The foundation has been laid. Now we're building our structure. Now we're sitting down with blueprints because we want to give you guys the blueprint for what it is that we're trying to build continuously through what we've already gone through, fortifying the ground.
Correct. It is a lot to take in, but again, keep in mind that you need to have that conversation with your significant other, and you may have to blatantly say, like, I see something that you can't see.
I don't like that person. I don't think that they're any good for you or me.
And you or me being us, and that's really just kind of how that works out. um I can't necessarily say drop the friend because I do feel like this, that if that person truly is a
As a
friend,
friend, yes.
then time or space doesn't necessarily sever the friendship, and if it does, you didn't need it anyway. So there's certain boundaries that you should be able to put up, and real friends understand.
Absolutely. We have come to the understanding over quite a few trial and errors over the years that if they're not her friend, they're not my friend. If they're not my friend, they're not her friend. And it's not to say that we it's like married couples don't have single friends. You know, let me just say it and put that out there because single people do single shit. Excuse my French. But when you have people that conduct themselves in certain ways, you don't want to be associated with that character and with those characteristics. As I said before in other videos, when you practice those character flaws, they become character traits. Okay? And then when you continue with them, you're comfortable. You continue to do these things not knowing the input and the output, the impact and the emphasis that you're giving your spouse. She's looking and she may say, or she or he may say, well, you really don't care. You know, how can you say that you care when you continue to do the same thing?
Right.
How can you allow someone to disrespect me in the smallest way and expect me to reciprocate the amount of and commitment that I'm supposed to you as your significant other and partner?
Correct. And that takes us back to kind of like the topic for tonight, where it's like, you hear me,
But
but
are you listening?
It is super important that you have. My bishop used to call it pillow talk, and I thought that lady was crazy.
You know, and God bless us with Bishop, man. But my mom, right? Me and my wife were having quite the time at one point. And I call my mom as I vent to my mom. And I'm talking to my mom and I'm telling my mom, and she like, baby, I hear you. She said, I hear you. She said, but have you had this conversation with your wife? And I said, I mean, I done said such and such. She said, no, 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 no. Have you said to your wife what you just said to me? Have you been as honest, as upfront? Have you been as thorough
with her
as you're being with me? Because what you're expressing to me, I understand. So maybe she doesn't understand because you haven't given her anything to talk and think about. I said, well, you know what? All right, mom, I'm gonna see what's going on. But you my mama. She said, but that's your wife. And that made the most sense to me because understanding that she is my wife, I can't mistreat her because mistreating her is mistreating myself. Anything that I do to her is I got it coming back regardless because I'm literally harming myself. And none of us would cause ourselves harm. So when it comes to your partner, however you want to put it, to whatever level you guys may be on in a relationship, it's always important to make sure that you give what you want back. It's always important to communicate, to hear them with your heart, to open up your ears, and to make it your business that you get a understanding of what it is that they are truly trying to say. The emphasis is there. Those little telltale signs are there. Listen, pay attention, because there is so much more that it could cost you if you don't. It's just that simple. I've come a long way when it comes down to communication because even though I was a good talker, I wasn't always able to illustrate myself in a fashion in which she was willing to receive that. And then once I was able to sharpen my social skills to be able to dialogue, then I had to learn to communicate and listen. And listening, that was a whole nother mountain to overcome.
Listening truly is a skill, and a lot of people don't practice it. And if you don't practice it, then you never, ever, ever get good at it. And so we almost switched roles for a while, and he just listened, and I just talked. And even though anyone that knows me knows I don't have a hard time with talking. Um, but what you may not know is that I've always had a very difficult time with talking about the stuff on the inside.
Yeah.
Like if it makes me feel, if it makes me emotional, if it makes me angry, I don't want to talk about it anymore.
That was difficult as well. However, um, tried and true, we have come to an understanding. We have revamped everything that we started from and came together to make sure that we could have something that would be substantial. We wrote a love contract. We came up with a marriage contract and we signed it and we have it. And if we need to, later on, we'll share that with you. But we came up with a contract.
Correct.
And that contract was not like our marriage license that legally binded us together as husband and wife, but that contract legally bounded us together as friends, as partners. We signed that to say soundly, I'm with you as your friend, I'm with you as your life partner. And everything that we're writing down here is what we're committing to. We're agreeing to communicate. We're agreeing to be naked with the truth. We're agreeing to be wholeheartedly committed to each other.
Yeah.
And anything else, we will do without. Yeah. We are in agreement that outside of ourselves and our Heavenly Father, our children are something that we will never compromise.
Yeah. So we'll go into the whole contract concept, as we get into this a little bit more. Um, but we are going to be coming to you every Tuesday night, trying to give you what it is that you may not get on a daily basis. I know a lot of people struggle with having someone that they can go to and talk things through about what they're facing in their relationship. For a very long time, I felt like I had no one that I could talk to about what it was that I was going through. I felt like, my friends were biased, my mom was biased, and it really put me at a catch-22 because I wanted unadulterated advice. I wanted someone to tell me if I was wrong that I was wrong. If I was wrong, tell me that I'm wrong. Don't allow me to do something or continue in a way that is not healthy. And for a while, I didn't feel like I was getting that. And so it's definitely important for you to have someone that you can go to. And we're hoping that we can kind of be that person for you. We are not in any way, shape, form, or fashion in a place where we can judge.
Right.
So anything that you get from us again is all going to be in love. It's all going to be from a very helpful perspective because we want you to be great just as much as someone may wish for us to be great.
And any comments and information that you share with us, we will keep it confidential.
Yes.
You can be completely autonomous. And we just want to continue to be great to help great people. Um, we're lovers,
Through and through.
as a unit, and we're lovers as individuals.
Yeah.
So if you know us, you either like us or you don't. However, we hope that you love us and we hope that you like us enough to be willing to share some of your experiences with us and take some learning techniques from us, and that you may be able to implicate into your walk, into your life, into your marriage and relationship. And what I will say is the relationship with my wife has sparked so many other things to be beneficial. Learning to communicate with her has given me the opportunity to communicate with my grandmother, my mother, my grandfather, uh, the three of them that I have. I'm blessed. I currently have three grandfathers, and
He has three grandfathers. I have none. He has two grandmothers. I have none. So we come from
completely opposite
yeah.
spectrums, and we continue to learn from each other
Yeah.
and grow with each other.
Yeah.
And she didn't have any grandparents. However, I wasn't able to communicate with any of mine.
Well, when we met, I still had my great grandmother.
Yeah, mother.
Which he could tell you like she was my heir.
Yeah, she was really, it was a blessing to get to meet her. And the matriarchs in my family are on my father's side.
Yeah.
My mother's side, my grandmother is finally coming around after many years of being so distraught from the loss of her mother, my great grandmother, who was the glue to our family.
And you know what? That's what we're gonna go ahead and make at least a brief topic. We may even go live at some point later on this week to talk about grief.
Man.
This month, today is the 30th, so this month is almost over. But this month, I celebrated 2 years without my father, and it was a celebration because now he is free. And so I don't have to necessarily be sad about that, but I've learned a lot of things about grief and how they affect relationships as well.
Yes.
Through loss that I have experienced. So we'll talk about that as well. But if by chance you have anything that you want to talk about, any questions that you may have, and you don't necessarily want to put that in the chat while we're live, you can actually send us an email. Our email address is up on the channel, so you can reach out to us that way. And we definitely can communicate that way. Again, we want to be a point of contact and a helpful hand.
Any way that we can.
In any way that we can.
When my wife lost her father, I watched that, and I endured that. I lost a part of me as well because through many failed attempts with my biological father, her father stepped in and he was like, "Hey kid, listen, I ain't the best, but I do what I can." And when I tell you, this guy texts me every day, he would call me once a week. He would call her just about every day.
Mm-hmm.
And he would just let me sit on the phone and vent. And a lot of times he would laugh. And I would say, man, so as I was saying, learning to listen, I could see how it was so important to be able to listen and to be a good listener, to make sure that people not only heard you, but you heard them. What Pops has taught me throughout all of these different things is you have to be who you are. You have to truly be true to yourself. You have to be honest with yourself in order to be honest with other people. You have to be true to the calling that is within you. And if you're ever able to identify with the kind of character that you choose to be and who you are made to be, they should go hand in hand. And that will go the way that listening and communication will.
Yeah.
You want to put those two together. And in a relationship, as long as you have them, then the foundation, it won't shake.
Yeah. And we've actually done a couple of little like games and like question games to kind of help each other out with the talking, communicating, listening piece. So if that's something that you're interested in, go ahead and reach out. We also have this really cool little app
The
that we're
Happy
using.
Couples app.
Yeah, the Happy Couple app that we're using that kind of help keep us on our toes and see if we understand like how our partner thinks. It's a really cool little thing that we're using. If you're interested in that, let us know because we can send you the link for that as well. We're all for trying to help in any way that we can. Now we won't hold you up all night, and we definitely want to thank you all for tuning in. See us again next week, Tuesday night, for Twice the Advice.
Twice the Advice. Subscribe, and click the button down there that says share. Catch y'all later.
And like it too while you're at it. It's been real, y'all. Have a good night. Yeah.